ERISA disability insurance claim for fibrofog or ME/CFS brain fog. One of the hallmark symptoms of fibromyalgia and ME/CFS is a cognitive dysfunction called fibrofog or brain fog. It involves problems with short-term memory, difficulty concentrating or multitasking, trouble recalling words and even names. But unfortunately, long-term disability carriers or plans just don't understand ME/CF and fibromyalgia brain fog. They think that it's all in your head from a psychiatric standpoint, and they don't understand the cause of the symptoms or the treatment. This all will result generally in a denial or termination at some point. Let's talk about perfecting your claim. It might surprise you that you have the burden to prove at all times that you meet the applicable definition of disability in your disability insurance policy. So get it out. What is it that you have to prove? If you don't understand what you have to prove, it's going to be hard to win your case. Now, regardless of the diagnosis or the combination of the diagnosis, you need to be prepared to prove that there is an objective basis for the diagnosis, that there's an objective basis for the restrictions and limitations assigned by your physician, and that there's a causal relationship between the diagnosis and your restrictions and limitations that prevent you from performing the material and substantial duties of your own occupation or any occupation, depending on where you're at in the standard of disability. So what is it that disability carriers or plans don't get about brain fog? They hate subjective complaints. Why? Because anybody, in their view, can have problems with their short-term memory. They can have difficulty concentrating or trouble recalling words and names. In their view, it's really easy to fake all of these symptoms and claim that you're disabled. They also hate these kinds of claims because symptoms can vary from person to person. They can range from mild to severe, and they can vary from day to day. That makes it very hard to quantify the nature of a person's symptoms and how those symptoms might impact their ability to perform their own occupation or any other occupation. So they hate these claims. What's important here is executive functioning. Executive functioning is high-level cognitive ability to engage in problem solving, working memory, emotional regulation, and decision-making. So it's not uncommon for those who have fibromyalgia or ME/CFS to have deficits in their executive functioning that makes it difficult, if not impossible, to perform the executive functioning of their occupation or any other occupation. There are also memory problems. Now, we each have a working memory, and the working memory is the ability to process, manipulate, and use information not only in your daily life, but in your occupational world of work. Now, that requires executive functioning. Now, I find that it's not uncommon for people who have ME/CFS to forget things as simple as what's the next step in a recipe or something I may just have told them. People with ME/CFS can also have problems with visual spatial memory, episodic verbal memory, and visual memory. So as a result, you might have directional disorientation and suddenly not know where you are or recognize familiar surroundings. I hear this all the time. And you might not even remember a recent conversation. There are also attention problems. Attention problems can include the difficulty focusing, difficulty concentrating, being easily distracted, the lack of attention to detail, or difficulty with organization. Any one of these problems, or a combination of these problems, can impact your ability to perform your own occupation and any occupation. But to the extent possible, they need to be objectively verified by testing, including neurocognitive testing. Disability carriers or plans don't understand the causes of ME/CFS and fibromyalgia brain fog. That can make it difficult. There are some well-known liar-for-hire insurance physicians who just don't even believe that ME/CFS or fibromyalgia brain fog exists, much less that it's disabling. And they'll cite studies that say, exercise will help, it's not disabling. Now, research shows that brain fog can be caused by non-restorative sleep and even overexertion. And in ME/CFS, you're going to see post-exertional malaise and depression. That will play into the hands of a disability insurance carrier or plan if there's a mental nervous policy limitation in the disability plan. Worse yet, there are some plans or policies that have a 2-year limit on subjective medical conditions, and they will list ME/CFS or fibromyalgia, and they'll list things like brain fog. So you have to be very careful about what's in your medical records. We want to show that you have ME/CFS or fibromyalgia objectively. We want to establish your restrictions and limitations. And that might be require you to have not only a functional capacity evaluation, but a CPET exam to document your restrictions and limitations. The neurocognitive testing can also be crucial because they will objectively establish that you have cognitive impairment that make it difficult, if not impossible, to perform your own or any occupation. And ultimately, we have to tie all this together with a vocational opinion that explains why you have these deficits. The physicians will do that for us, or the testing will do that, but why these problems will interfere with your ability to do your own or any occupation. It might be, obviously the pain and dysfunction that you have from the underlying disease, but it also may be the cognitive impairment. We want to document the level of dysfunction. We want to document the cognitive impairment that you have. And as I said, tie it together with a vocational opinion that establishes, here are the objective duties of your occupation or any occupation, and this is why you can't perform those duties. That's the key to getting your benefits. Because I will tell you, as an experienced ME/CFS, fibromyalgia, or ERISA disability attorney, the carrier is going to be setting you up for a claims denial. It might be a liar for hire peer review. It might be an IME. But you can expect that that's going to happen at some point in your claim. If that happens, you're only going to have 180 days in which to file an appeal. And that is the trial of your case. You just can't file a lawsuit without doing an appeal. And once the appeal process is completed, you can't add any new evidence. So the appeal is the trial of your case. It's really crucial that you be represented by an experienced disability attorney who can tie this all together. Call me today at 727-894-3188 for a complimentary consultation. I can help you get the disability benefits you deserve for fibromyalgia, ME/CFS, or a combination of these issues, regardless of where you live in the United States and regardless of who your disability carrier might be. 727-894-3188.